Good evening and welcome to QUT Web News.
Good evening.
Ford has announced it is to stop car manufacturing in Australia. 1,200 jobs will be lost by October 2016. The shutdown is despite federal funding of $1.1 billion to the company over the past decade.
Ford announced this morning it will be closing its Geelong and Broadmeadows factories. Ford President and CEO Bob Graziano says the company has lost $141 million in the past financial year, with a total of $600 million in the past 5 years.
Manufacturing is not viable for Ford in Australia in the long term. Today's announcement means that the way we are structured is changing, but our commitment to Australia remains strong.
He says his employees' entitlements will be protected and Ford will provide support for the next 3 years. The government has promised to help the workers.
We will make sure that you are not left behind. The government will be providing the most intensive form of employment assistance that we can provide.
Our economy is affected dramatically by a persistently high Australian dollar, which provides challenges for some industrial sectors.
Opposition leader Tony Abbott says under his government, Australia and its industries would be part of a first world economy.
That's what we in the Coalition dedicate ourselves to today, to making it easier for manufacturing industry to survive and to flourish in this country.
Ford workers were stunned at the news.
Oh, obviously it's affecting me, but it's also affected a lot of other people here. So it's a sad day for people that work for this company, but also for this country.
I started here as 18 years old, and very shocked for everybody. I think it should be shocked for all the Australian public.
Ford will still manufacture new Falcon and Territory models, but production will stop in 2016. Georgia Ether, QUT News.
In Logan, locals gathered today to hold a candle vigil for a woman found murdered yesterday. Police have confirmed Joan Ryther had been beaten savagely and sexually assaulted.
About 100 people turned out at Woodridge train station this afternoon to pay tribute to their neighbour and mate. Work colleagues and friends stood hand in hand, lighting candles as a mark of respect for Joan Canino Ryther. The Centre Against Sexual Violence, based on the street Miss Ryther lived, organised the daylight vigil.
We're lighting a candle, to honour the memory of this beautiful young woman. We want to let her know that, we care. We're here for her, we're here for her family, here for her friends, and we just want to send that positive message that, that this community cares.
Ms. Ryther's partly clothed body was found outside a home in Logan Central early yesterday morning. Today, police confirmed that she had been sexually assaulted.
At this stage, I can say that that the victim did sustain some blunt force trauma to the head, and we are of the view that she was sexually assaulted.
Detectives also confirmed Ms. Ryther was pregnant at the time of her death. Friends said that she was hoping for a baby boy. Harrison Orchard, QUT News.
State opposition leader Anastacia Palaszczuk announced a new childcare vaccination bill today, but the government says it's already looking at ways to improve Queensland's vaccination rate.
Unveiling the new bill outside Parliament, opposition leader Anastacia Palaszczuk was all smiles. The controversial policy could see childcare centres given the authority to deny enrolments if children haven't had required immunisation.
It's the right thing to do, it makes sense, and I would be very surprised if there was any other member of Parliament that did not support this initiative.
The announcement follows a similar bill being passed in New South Wales last week.
The government's already been looking at the issue of how we can lift our immunisation rates and also possible legislative responses.
Ms Palaszczuk said there were 3,000 people across the state who had not had their children vaccinated, posing a serious health risk for childcare workers and their families. Overnight, the government announced that it would be using state-owned electricity generators to supply energy to Ergon. But Energy Minister Mark McGuire was quick to deny this was in preparation for the energy supplier's sale.
I indicate from the start that this government has made it quite clear that we are only considering whether certain assets should go for sale.
Michael Kuznovsky, QUT News.
This morning, people around the nation ate cakes and drank tea, all in the name of cancer research. Australia's biggest morning tea today celebrated its 20th year.
2 decades and $112 million later, we're still more than happy to load up on all things sweet in the name of charity. About 100 people gathered at the Stanford Hotel to sip and do their bit for the Cancer Council.
So this year in Queensland, we hope to see around 6,500 hosts across the state hold their own biggest morning tea and raise over $2.5 million.
3 years ago, doctors found a tumour on India McGuigan's spinal cord. After surgery, chemotherapy and radiation, today she's standing tall.
This sort of event, just for people learning more about cancer and being more aware and fundraising money for research is just really important, because without the fundraising we're not going to be able to find these different treatments and a cure for cancer ultimately.
41,000 people die every year in Australia from cancer. 8,000 of those are Queenslanders.
To be completely honest, my uncle passed away quite recently, only at the age of 42. So when you see things like that and you kind of go, you want to volunteer your time to be able to help out as much as possible.
It seems people are happy to help out, especially when it's as simple as drinking a cup of tea. Before you pop the kettle on, think twice about your choice of tea. Researchers say chemicals in chamomile can help ward off cancer. To host your own morning tea or to donate, go to biggestmorningtea.com.au. Connor Tobin, QUT News.
The weather cleared today for the opening of the 25th annual Sanctuary Cove International Boat Show on the Gold Coast. Boat enthusiasts are confident the industry has a bright future.
The sun showed itself just at the right time at Sanctuary Cove. Show organisers say the industry is recovering from the GFC.
Many of our exhibitors are expecting a pretty good year this year, and so it's all looking positive.
The 4-day event features more than 300 exhibits. If you have around $10 million to spend, you can buy the Horizon P110 tri-deck motor yacht, the biggest boat in this year's show.
It's got 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, something like 5 dining areas. Even has a spa pool on the top deck.
At last year's event, Andrew Abrahams broke a world record.
I did the world record on the rowing machine last year of 1,000,000 metres in preparation for this race, and I'm going to do everything I can to give that a nudge and do it in 45 days and beat the record.
This year, he plans to take his rowboat 5,000 kilometres in the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge to raise funds for kids with cancer.
Now I want to see if I can row across the Atlantic. Looks like I need a bit more practice. Vanessa Wolf, QUT News.
Oh, Vanessa, give us everything you got. Go, come on.
Thoroughbred racing came to town today, literally. Horses, jockeys and fashions all in the Queen Street Mall. The Brisbane Racing Club staged the event to promote the upcoming Stradbroke Day at Eagle Farm.
You can bet Stradbroke in the city took many city slickers by surprise. It was trackside in the mall with all the colour of race day. The event, riding demonstrations and a phantom race call.
She's getting back along the inside, mob markers next thing.
Organisers hope it's odds on to attract more than 20,000 people to the track on June the 8th.
We were expecting around 20,000 to the track for Amy Stradbroke Day. So it's a huge crowd for us and a huge event for Brisbane.
For the fillies, the event featured several fashions on the field parades. MC Sophie Formica says Stradbroke Day is a chance for people to put their best fashion foot forward.
It's the day that really people do dress to the nines. It's probably the busiest day trackside, and the theme is always black, white with a dash of red.
Jockey Chris Muntz says events like today are integral to making the sport more appealing.
The more people we can get involved in and get to understand our sport and our environment, it's a great industry, and it's the more people get behind it, the better.
He says the carnival will showcase Queensland's best thoroughbreds.
The racing industry has suffered a significant blow in the wake of recent scandals, but it's events like Stradbroke in the city that it's hoped will attract people trackside. Katrina Moore, QUT News.
Time now for a look at the weather. It's been another beautiful autumn day.
In the southeast, Brisbane, Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast all had highs of 23 degrees. Ipswich was chilly this morning with an overnight low of 9. Around the nation tomorrow, cloudy days and showers are expected in Sydney, Canberra, Hobart and Adelaide. Sunny in Melbourne with a top of 17. And Darwin will have a morning shower with an expected 31-degree high. It'll be cloudy across most of Queensland tomorrow, with light showers and maximums in the low 20s over most of the state. Warmer in the far north of the state though. It will reach 28 degrees in Townsville and 30 degrees in Cairns with mostly fine weather. Finally, the outlook for Brisbane across the weekend. You can expect a shower or two tomorrow with a maximum of 22 degrees. Possible showers on Saturday too. But Sunday should be mostly fine with a top of 23. And that brings you up to date with the weather.
That's all the news we have for tonight.
We'll be back tomorrow night with more QUT Web News. Good night.
Good night.